Hello and welcome to my first video and guide. Today we'll be looking at, in my opinion, a somewhat underrated gun, which is the Ash-12. So I think the update 12.12 has actually made this gun a lot more viable, because some of the cons that the gun would suffer with have sort of been alleviated a little bit. There's also going to be a pro tip at the end of this video on how this gun becomes just that little bit better, in my opinion, and alleviates one of the other issues the gun would be associated with. First of all, I fell in love with this gun while I was hunting killer for my Jaeger task. It took me probably around 100 raids, if not more, to find killer and actually kill him. He would either not spawn for me, or he would sit in a dark corner and insta-kill me. But to be fair, all that suffering has come out to the end where I really enjoy the Ash-12. It was incredibly fun, just one-tapping scavs and players. And we'll go over some of its pros and cons in a minute, costs and availability, and over the myth that this gun is a CQB only gun. I think this gun can be viable on almost any map, if you play it correctly, but I am obviously aware that each map might have a more suitable weapon for the job over the Ash-12. So, in usual YouTube fashion, let's jump straight into it. So, looking at my stash, you might think I have some sort of drinking problem. I do have a problem. Luckily, it's not a drinking one. The problem I have is simply trading very cheap Ash-12s. So, one requirement for this gun being cost effective to the point where it is for me, you will need to complete two tasks. The first one is regulated materials. That will unlock the trade for Prapper, which will trade for 2 vodkas quite easily. So vodkas usually, oh, there we go. Cheap vodkas, that's what we want. So as you can see, that was down to like 18,000 pound, 18,000 rubles. They usually sit between 20 and 21, and I think that's the price I would buy them at. If you search for the vodkas and they're like around 28 plus, chances are that somebody has just done the thick item trade, because you need 50 vodkas for that. So obviously wait 15-20 minutes, maybe a bit longer, for the price to go back to normal. So as you just seen, I bought these for about, let's say 20,000. I know I got them for slightly less, but it makes it a nice round number, which makes the Ash-12 that we buy 40,000 rubles, which comes as this. So this is the gun that you trade from Prapper. And usually I will take off the carry handle, the front side, and the 10 rounder mag, and the Ash-12. The handguard you want to keep, it gives you plus 5 ergo. I know it gives you some minus benefits there, they're minimal, and the 5 ergo is well worth those minus points. If I then go to mechanic and sell these items, you can see that I get about 7,158 rubles back. And by about, I mean that's exactly what you get. If you want to play the 10 rounders, obviously save it. Just buy one less magazine for how you intend to play it. We'll cover the two types of magazines in just a minute. But even at around 3,500 rubles, this makes the gun just so much cheaper again. So I would have spent about 33,000 on this gun right now, with having sold the spare attachments, which I won't use. Going back to my stash, these are my daily drivers depending on what map I play. The Valde I usually play on something like labs, maybe customs, depending on where I want to go on customs. It's just a really nice versatile scope in my opinion. This is my factory kit, so very straightforward. You can see here, I usually use the SE5, which as you can see gives me 8 ergo, -3 and -8. A lot of people recommend this foregrip, which will give you only plus 4 ergo, and it'll give you -1 vertical recoil more and -5 vertical horizontal. So it'll give you -5 extra horizontal recoil compared to the SE5. Now, this gun, you don't need to do much with the full auto, in my opinion. There's not much you can do, and it doesn't really improve it. So I always recommend, and that I always go with a higher ergo. If you really want to push the ergo slightly more, you can also put a front sight on. You can put on a back sight that gives you 1 ergo each. And you can also change the scope to the Cobra and put the Cobra sight shade on it, which is actually the only sight in the game at the moment that gives you +1 ergo. So you can see on the ergonomics, if I was to take that off, I would actually lose 1 ergo. In my opinion, this is actually a very nice sight. With the rework, the sight shade doesn't actually impact you in any shape or form anymore. And I usually run this on the triangle and dot setting, or on just the triangle setting, not on the first round circle setting. So this gun, as is, will cost you about 80 to 90,000 rubles, depending on what attachments you put on it. That's without the magazine, and we'll get into that in just a minute. So 80 to 90,000, very cheap gun in my opinion, compared to others. Yes, there is others out there that'll do a good job in certain scenarios, but once we go over the ammo, you'll understand why this is such a good gun. So you might be wondering why I've not mentioned the silencer. In my opinion, there's 3 good reasons not to use the silencer. One of them is the compensator is just overall better in my opinion. So the silencer doesn't actually change much loudness. It is still very loud, the gun. It gives you a load of negative effects, including -21 ergo, and that's just too much in my opinion to take the hit. People will still hear you, so you might as well take this one. It's an Ash-12. In my opinion, it's a loud and proud gun. It has that very nice sound to it, in my opinion. So stay away from the suppressor. It's a waste of money, and don't bother with it, guys. Honestly, if you really want to give it a try, you can. Again, the stats they're not worth it in my opinion. The ergo hit, it doesn't make it quieter, and the gun sounds nicer without the suppressor, in my opinion. So as mentioned, I said we'd get into the magazines. So if I do a linked search, click on magazines, you can see there's only a 10 rounder and a 20 rounder available. I've bought my 5 for this reset, and the 10 rounders you can only buy 10 off, and it's entirely up to you what you play. Now, without looking at the flea prices, the 10 rounders are only 7,000 rubles, whereas the 20 rounders are 24,000 rubles. You can literally buy 3 10 rounder magazines and still save money compared to the 20 rounder. Me personally, if I was to go into raid, I'd have 1 20 rounder in my rig, 1 20 rounder in the gun, and then roughly 60 rounds in my safe container. That should be more than enough, no matter what map you go on. Labs, maybe take 90 if you really want to. Alternatively, you could play 3 10 rounder mags. It would even be cheaper because you'd only have to buy 2 of them, because the gun would normally come with one. Or if you want to do a hybrid, you can play 20 in the gun, a 10 rounder as a backup, and you should be okay with that. So we'll get into why you should be okay with only 30 rounds out and about in just a second. So obviously there is pros and cons to both magazines. This will take 7 ergo away, the 10 rounder will only take 3 ergo. However, I personally would always use a 20 rounder or 2 20 rounders, especially in factory, and especially in the current meta. I seem to be running into more and more duos, trios, and more. 20 rounders, I feel like you can comfortably kill 2 people quite easily, 3 people if you control your spray and kill them very easily. Realistically, if you've got the gun on single tap and you're able to one tap every single person, you can kill 20 people and still have a round in the chamber. Which leads us quite nicely into the ammo types. So, as you can see, the Ash-12 has only got 3 types of rounds: the PS-12, the PS-12A, and the PS-12B. So on screen right now, you should see the stats for the PS-12 and the PS-12A. As you can see, the PS-12 isn't terrible. You know, it's got 25 pen, 115 damage. Early wipe, that might be a very nice round to play. Not mid to late wipe. The PS-12A, you can see a humongous 165 damage. However, it's got 10 pen. this is not a gun to use for leg meta. If you really want to meme it, you could go into factory and kill people with it, probably. It's probably 3 rounds to the legs. I would have to double check that, but I'm pretty sure it is. That leaves us with only 1 bullet type left, and you should see the stats on the screen now, which is the PS12B. So you unlock this from Prapor after completing Grenadier, and you can buy 300 rounds per reset at below 700 rubles. This gun has 46 pen and 102 damage. There is a 95% plus chance you'll one-tap anyone wearing a level 4 armor, and there is still a 45% chance to one-tap anyone wearing a level 5. Level 6 you will not one-tap, but you can quite easily shred through the armor fairly quickly and kill them very quickly too. There should be a little clip playing right now where I killed a duo. The first guy had a level 6 armor, and I was able to kill both of them with 1 magazine. So it's definitely doable. Especially if you're used to running M80s and whatnot, this will still kill quicker than M80s, for example. So obviously this being at 790 rubles and that kind of destruction power, it makes it cheaper than BT for the 545. So I think hands down, this is the best bang for your ruble ammo. So if we check on the flea right now, Prapor sells the BT for 1 ruble less than the 12B ammo. So let's get into the pros / cons. So I will simply put my normal kit on that I would run. So I would normally run something like this. And as you can see, I'm already at 30.4 kilos. This kit has helped me massively level up my strength and catching up with it to my endurance, which can be a pro or con for you. If you're into late wipe, but you're someone that likes running quite light and doesn't make it out with a lot of loot, and doesn't like to come out with a lot of loot, this is great for you to level strength, or it might hinder you in actually being able to maneuver, especially with inertia at the moment. So the ammo is quite heavy. So as you can see, if I take the stack out, 1.6 kilos per 30 rounds. You can obviously just run a 30 stack in your backpack if you want instead. If you run a 10 rounder, if you run 2 10 rounders or 3 10 rounders, that'll obviously slightly reduce the weight again. For me, I'm currently at strength level 36. So the way this is right now, I'm okay to go in. If I was to add another magazine though, 32 kilos, I go in overweight and I would level strength. I'm probably not level any endurance for the raid. So it's a pro or con, depending whether you want to level strength or not. Now let's get into the cons. There's 3 main cons, which is the bullet speed. So the 12B travels at 300 meters per second. It's a very, very slow and heavy round. So if you compare that to a 55A1, that's 945. The 12B is literally a third of the speed. So if you're shooting someone and leading, say they're running left to right and you're leading at a small distance, fair distance, you're going to have to lead much more. It gets to the point where if I use the red circle on this scope, I probably use the edge of the circle to lead, depending on the distance, maybe more. So it's something that you have to get used to if you seriously start playing this gun. So as I mentioned, the gun costs about 90,000 to mod. So if we were to put my normal sort of loadout on there, it would be an EOTech there, an X400 there, SE5, and then if we buy the parts, we wouldn't need to buy this, wouldn't need to buy this. So we're looking at 51,000 on top of the 40,000 for the gun. So you're looking at 91,000. Obviously the EOTech is extremely expensive. If you wanted to play the Cobra, I believe it's only 15,000. So you're looking at 40,000, which is 80,000. So you can comfortably mod this gun between 80 and 90,000. If you want to put a bigger scope on it, obviously entirely up to you at this point. Base gun, 40k, plus the magazines, depending on what you want to go for. In fact, the 220 rounders cost more than the gun. So the first con, in my opinion, for this bullet is the bullet travel speed. So as you can see, I'm lying on reserve right now. The laser is dodgy as shit as always. I'm roughly 300 meters away from the queen sign or king sign. I don't know. I know it was 1 and then it was corrected and yeah, whatever. So, the bullet actually travels at 300 meters a second, which means this should literally take a second to get there. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So, yeah, I think it's about a second. And you can see I'm 0 to 300. And even though I'm shooting, it's really hard to tell if I'm shooting correct. I just can't see the laser. I think that's aiming at the sign. It might not be, though. But you can see, yeah, I'm 0 to 300. And it might be 306 meters. And there's already a massive bullet drop. Which is going to be 0.3, which we'll get to last. And that's where our pro tip's going to be. So as you can see, the bullet travels very slowly. Which is why it'll be very different to any other gun that you're currently playing. So if you're used to playing M4s, even BP AKM, that I think travels at 700 meters, so double. M4s travels at about 3 times the speed. M80, I think, pushes 1,000 meters per second, or is that 995, something like that? So be prepared to play very differently with this. If you're playing subsonic on the MP7, I think that's actually 299 meters per second. Obviously, it's not something that you shoot at range, but you will understand of how slow this bullet is and how much you have to lead someone at sort of medium to long range. And if you get used to the Ash-12 and you then play a different gun, it'll take a while to get used to that again. After playing this gun, I was playing the M4 and I was leading so far and I was just not hitting any shots because of it. So we'll walk over to this door and get over to con number 2 out of 3, which is the full auto mode on this gun. Anything above 10 meters, in my personal opinion, should always be a single tap. So what we'll do is we'll do a 10 meter and a 5 meter check at full auto. So the first magazine will be at no recoil control by me. And then the second one, I'll try and control the recoil a little bit. So if I lift this up, you'll see that I'm not controlling my recoil and I'm shooting the magazine. Quite terrible. So as you saw, I did spray twice here, by the way, and I've taken some attachments off. As you can see, quite a lot of recoil at 10 meters. So I'm going to try the same again on this side now. I'm going to try and control the recoil a little bit. If you're sort of imagining this is like a body size, we've got a couple of rounds on target, which is all you need with this gun. That could easily be 1 or 2 kills. But honestly, 10 meters is the tippy top maximum. I'll show you this clip from factory right now. I'm not sure how far that was. And I think I was incredibly lucky. I might have hit him with the first shot, because the first shot seems to be quite accurate before the recoil kicks in. Bear in mind, my recoil is currently at level 11, I believe. Yeah, 11. So, probably average. It's not a full auto mode. I like to call it the oh fuck, oh shit, I'm about to die, press B and empty the mag button. There is actually a quite nice double kill here. And as you can see, it worked perfectly at that range. That was probably 3 meters to 5 meters. And I think this is where the 5 meter is sort of the sweet spot where you can confidently use this ammo. So again, let's aim roughly at the same height just to get the same rough idea. Not doing any recoil. So if someone's standing and I'm shooting them in the legs or stomach, I'd probably kill them. Not realistic though. You know, if I'm shooting at the thorax site here, the head would probably be there. I'd have missed all of them shots. But this is where obviously your own skill comes in. And if you shoot at 5 meters, try and recoil a little bit, I think that's a very good grouping for this gun, truth be told. And then obviously at 3 meters, you're laughing. Like I said, 5 meters is like the confident maximum. 10 meters is the pray and spray, pray hard, and then anything below 5 meters, sort of 2 meters, very good at that. Obviously, this would have been 21 rounds of 105 damage. You could be wearing a level 20 armor. I'm pretty sure the blunt damage would have killed whoever I was shooting at. So, and now we come to con number 3, which I've pre-recorded, and you can see that now. So, I think the third and last bad point of this gun is the bullet drop. However, with 12.12 being able to zero your gun and it actually being accurately zeroed, is a very big buff for this gun in my opinion. But also, the pro tip that I mentioned earlier is to zero the gun at 100 meters at all times, other than on factory. So as you can see, I'll be shooting at that door in a minute. It's roughly 100 meters. And I'll be shooting at it zeroed 50, 100, and 150 meters. We'll then move closer to 50 meters and shoot at it from zeroed at 50, 100, and 150 to show the difference of the way the bullet acts. So we're at 100 meters. I will use this line here to prove my point. So as you can see right now, we're zeroed at 50 meters at the bottom right. I'm not shooting the exact same spot, but you can sort of see the grouping there right now. We'll then go to 100 meters. And this should hit exactly where we're shooting, basically. So every time I shoot at the bullet, it should hit the bullet. Obviously, not taking the MOA into account. So I think it's a quite nice grouping. And then if we shoot at 150 meters, you can see that the bullet shoots well above the 100-meter bullet. So what we'll do now is we'll use that little spot there to aim at. So this is 50. This is 100. And this is 150. So again, we'll look at this square. You can see all of it is in 50 meters. And this is where I wish I would have brought the other scope. And we'll start again using this top line at 50. So we're shooting at 50 meters at 0 to 50. We're now shooting at 50 meters, 0 to 100 meters. And we're now shooting at 50 meters, 0 to 150 meters. And you can see the distance between them is quite the same, I suppose. So this is the 100-meter range, shooting at 50, at 100, and 150. So at this range, if we were 0 to 100, obviously the target would be smaller. If we're shooting at the top of the chest, we might hit them in the legs or stomach at that time. So that drop is significant enough to potentially not even hit the target, depending on what range you're shooting at. And obviously, if you're shooting that, big difference there, in my opinion. So if we're looking at this one, this is the 50-meter range. Obviously, 50 at 50 That will be absolutely fine. And then 100 meter at 50, you're not shooting much higher than you would at 50. Because this is a center mass gun. If you're going center mass, you'd hit the chest. You know, if you're shooting at stomach, you're still hitting chest. If you're hitting upper chest, you'll still hit the head. So this is not a headshot machine. You should always go with center mass because it one taps almost anything, armor wise. Apart from obviously raiders because they have too much health and rogues and that kind of stuff. But PMC wise, you should always aim for the thorax. But obviously, this at 50 meters is not much difference. Okay. Obviously, if you're back at 100 meters, you're hitting the target. But we'll look at the groupings and the pro tip. So the pro tip, I'm not sure if I mentioned it already, I think is zeroing the gun at 100 meters unless you're on factory at all times. Obviously, if you're shooting at longer distances and you know the distance, zero it correctly. Otherwise, you will not hit your shots. However, this is an assault rifle in its truest form, which you can't really just convert into a sniper rifle, such as like a 5.56 M4 or something. You can't just put a long barrel and a good scope on it and you can snipe people. Regardless of what the ammo is right now, I did do a couple of shooter born and heaven kills with an A dart and 55A1. So if they're not wearing a helmet, it was definitely still possible to one-tap them. This gun, I think effective range is 120 meters at a push, I reckon. 100 meters is probably where you want to be at. 50 meters is obviously the sweet spot. And anything below that, it just shreds in full auto. Not anything below 50. So as we saw before, full auto is probably 10 meters max. If you're very lucky, a little bit more, not much more though. 5 meters is probably the sweet spot for full auto. Anything above 10 meters, you want a single tap. So the point I'm trying to make is shooting anything below 50, 0 to 100, will have less of a rise than it has here. This is probably the peak of its rise, okay? So if you're shooting at exactly 50 meters, 0 to 100, this is the worst rise you get in your bullet, which is still a hit quite easily. So yeah, my pro tip, go test it yourself. Zero the gun at 50, shoot at slow range, high ranges and low ranges, up to 100 meters. Test it yourself. That's all I can say. Go into an offline raid with bots and try shooting bots at 100 meters and try shooting them at 50 meters. Literally, my pro tip is use this gun 0 to 100 meters if you're aiming down sight, and don't worry about this slight lift. Honestly, it won't impact you as much as shooting over 50 meters and having this kind of drop. So you can literally, even if we go to the best impact, that is still more than that. So guys, as you can see, I think this gun is, again, like I said, a very underrated, incredible gun. Super powerful, and the value in it is just absolutely insane, if you ask me. 700 rounds for that ammo is genuinely insane. Again, give the gun a try, please. Give it a try at level at 50, 0 to 50 and 100. Tell me which one you prefer in the comments. So if you want to see me use this gun live in action, you can see me live on Twitch every Tuesday, Thursday, Friday and Saturday from about 7:30 British time. But yeah, guys, leave a like if you liked. Leave a dislike if you disliked. If you absolutely hate the Ash-12, let me know why. And if you've started falling in love with this gun, good. I hope it does you well. Well, guys, again, thank you very much for your time. I know it's been a very long video, probably. Any tips or tricks or suggestions on how I can change things again within video editing or anything, please let me know. Like I said, this is my first video. I do want to make more on different guns, on different maps. Well, guys, thank you again very much, and I'll see you again next time.